This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on the South Today, there's been sky-high interest in a special quarantine-free charter flight across the Tasman. Aviologists queue up for a slice of Kiwi aviation history as assets from the Martin jetpack are auctioned off. And take it over or rip it up. The City Council hears proposals over the future of the Tairi Gorge Railway. Tēnā koutou katoa, kia ora, I'm Simon Anderson. Repatriation is the main goal of a charter flight from Christchurch to Brisbane. Dunedin-based agent Vincent George Travel has been overwhelmed with interest since offering a quarantine-free flight across the Tasman. And that interest has only increased since last night's news from Air New Zealand.
Strain. Late yesterday, Air New Zealand announced the cancellation of 1,000 trans-Tasman flights due to continuing uncertainty about the borders, sending the industry into a tailspin.
When the announcement came through, of course, our phones and emails went ballistic. So many disappointed people out there who are desperate to get home. I've just been on the phone to somebody who's been 4 months trying to get back to Queensland.
Dunedin's Vincent George Travel has chartered a Qantas plane to take up to 150 people from Christchurch to Brisbane. Yesterday, seats on the company's flight were selling steadily. Today, following Air New Zealand's cancellation news, they've all gone.
We would consider doing another charter later in the month. It is subject to minimum numbers, so we really had to get 110 people to make this go. If there is another charter and we can get it, if we can get Qantas to agree for later in the month, a quarantine-free charter, then we would certainly consider that.
And late this afternoon, that plan was confirmed, with Vincent George able to charter a second Qantas flight on December the 10th. The travel agency is using Australia's offer of one-way quarantine-free travel from the South Island to help get people home.
The South Island's been an awesome place for people to be stuck, but when your home is actually several thousand kilometres away across the Tasman, I get it. People want to get home for Christmas.
The now fully booked first flight is set to depart from Christchurch to Brisbane on Friday, December the 3rd. The majority of passengers booking seats on the plane are from the South Island, with North Islanders facing extra challenges.
We had less take in the North Island. I think people were having to logistically make sure that they could be in a place for 14 days beforehand. So that proved some logistical hurdles for some.
It's understood the Dunedin Travel Agency is the only one this side of the Tasman currently offering quarantine-free flights. In Dunedin, the South Today.
A 24-year-old man has pleaded not guilty to a charge of attempted murder in relation to a shooting in Karitane last month. Christian Dick Karatai appeared in the High Court in Dunedin this morning with his name suppression ending. It's understood the complainant was shot in the head in the seaside village north of Dunedin on October the 15th. The man remains in a critical condition in hospital, but it's hoped he will soon be able to be interviewed. The victim was taken by helicopter to Christchurch Hospital. Crown Prosecutor Robin Bates said there had been a slight and unexpected improvement in his condition. Dick Karatai will be back before the court in February. Christchurch inventor Glenn Martin's unique Martin jetpack opened up possibilities for a futuristic single-person aircraft. But after burning through $50 million, the funding dried up. Now the company's assets are being auctioned off, with aviologists queuing to buy a piece of Kiwi aviation history. A representative of Otago Fish and Game has slammed the previous leadership at the Otago Regional Council as incompetent. Environmental Officer Nigel Peregrine says their decisions led to an outrageous burden on both farmers and conservationists. He described the Environment Court's decision on the Council's water permits plan change as bittersweet, but believed changes to water consent volumes were an improvement. Peregrine says it was the least worst option left on the table, with the decision and acknowledgement the present water plan was flawed. The group, who campaigned to save the Taieri Gorge line in the late 80s, wants to take over the running of Dunedin's railway services. The Otago Excursion Train Trust put their proposal to City Councillors this morning with the goal of preserving the rail link through to Middlemarch.
Hoping to keep tourism chugging along southern rail lines, the Otago Excursion Train Trust says their team knows the trains and railway well and believe they're the best people to operate the business.
Between our executive itself, our executive board of the trust, we have about 93 years of experience.
Two members of the trust presented their case to council this morning. The Excursion Trust was previously a minority shareholder in Dunedin Railways, but it gave up more than $824,000 in shares and $326,000 from a direct loan, following the pressure to mothball when COVID-19 hit in 2020.
We did it for 43 years before. We can do it again.
Their proposal would see Dunedin Railways split in two, between rail operations and infrastructure and maintenance. That part would be a joint venture between the not-for-profit trust and the Dunedin City Council. Philip Riley says the trust wants to reinvigorate the tourism potential of Taieri Gorge Railway and is confident the pathway to Central Otago is a viable avenue. However, the group's plan could be derailed if another proposal by photographer and cycling enthusiast Clive Copeman gains traction. He wants them to just rip up the train tracks, converting the route to a more economically sustainable multi-use trail.
And if we used our 60 kilometres of Taieri Gorge as a walking, cycling and force trail, I think we'd get more benefits economically and in community well-being.
The trust proposal would require an annual council grant of $1.5 million for a 10-year period. However, a $5 levy has been suggested for all visitors who bought tickets to help fund deferred maintenance and necessary upgrades. Councillors debated the trust's proposal this morning, deciding that council staff will report back to council on possible options as part of the council's 10-year plan. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Whaiakine still to come on the South Today. Queenstown Mayor Jim Bolt is named in a large money settlement report, and Dunedin Skate Bowl reaches a mature milestone. See you soon.
All new episodes of Put Some Colour in Your Life are now screening on Channel 39. Take a look at Australian artists and the techniques they use in their studio. Put Some Colour in Your Life. Tuesdays, 7:30.
Hi, it's November. We think that's too negative. We're calling it Govember. Time to go shopping. We've got a huge amount of stock we've bought in as special for you. So there's big selections of short sleeve shirts and polos, long sleeve casual and fashion shirts, jeans, trousers, casual trowel, shorts. Go check it out at Alex Campbell Menswear. Go while it's safe. Go while you can. Go while you save. It's Govember.
Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
So remember, it's not November, it's Govember. Alex Campbell Menswear.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
I think the best thing about it is we're all there to ride safely and deliver that message to, some of the kids that are out there, hopefully showcase that riders and drivers can integrate together. So yeah, it's just being part of sharing that message really of riding safely when you're out on the road.
Namaino, welcome back. A new report has revealed a multi-million-dollar settlement around the failure of a high-profile construction company. Stonewood Homes and its associated companies were placed into liquidation in February 2016, owing millions of dollars to creditors. Legal action was taken against Queenstown Mayor, Lake Mayor Jim Bolts and another director of the failed company, Brent Metrick. The liquidator's 6-monthly report has revealed the proceedings were settled and withdrawn after the payment of $3.5 million. The defendants did not admit any liability as part of the settlement. The NZTA is removing barriers for drivers to get their full licence. New Zealand's driver licence system has 3 stages: learner, restricted and full, with minimum time periods before a driver can apply to progress through the next stages. From next month, a range of conditions will be removed. Waka Kotahi says despite efforts to encourage drivers to progress through the licence stages quickly, some don't manage to. This changes will mean all stages of New Zealand licences are valid for 10 years, allowing drivers to gain the skills and confidence to progress at their own pace. Skaters, both young and old, showed off their tricks at Mornington's Skate Bowl over the weekend to celebrate a 40th birthday. It wasn't one of the skaters marking the milestone though, but instead the famous Blood Bucket facility itself.
Scraping along the concrete of the Blood Bucket, Mornington's Skateboard Bowl has grazed its fair share of skaters over the past 4 decades as they try to perfect their tricks. Boarders young and old gathered to test their mettle in the Blood Bucket on Saturday for a competition to celebrate the bowl's 40th anniversary.
Well, it's called the Blood Bucket because it's quite an intense place to skateboard, and the designer Nathan on the first day broke his arm.
Nathan McConnell designed the Blood Bucket when he was a student at Bayfield High School in the 80s. He created the design as part of a 6th form technical drawing project. It then managed to make its way to the Dunedin City Council, who gave the project a green light.
Become really iconic. Lots of people travel from all around the country and the world just to skate it.
Famous skaters like Tony Hawk and the late Jeff Grosso have tried their luck at the Blood Bucket. Zed and fellows travelled from Wanaka to skate the bowl at the weekend event, walking away as one of 3 winners.
It's crazy. It's still in really good condition for 40 years old, yeah. It's real nice. Definitely a piece out of that era though.
While fellows' loyalty lies with the Wanaka skate parks, he reckons the Blood Bucket has its own charm.
It's a little bit crusty, but it's perfect.
And skaters will soon have more chance to hone their skills, with the DCC planning to upgrade 11 skate parks around Dunedin as part of their play space plan. In Dunedin, the South Today.
After the break on the South Today, a Christchurch charity hopes to save Santa from COVID, and we have your beautiful midweek weather. Hea koko ake nei.
All new episodes of Put Some Colour in Your Life are now screening on Channel 39. Take a look at Australian artists and the techniques they use in their studio. Put Some Colour in Your Life, Tuesdays, 7:30.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
MTF Finance can help you turn the key on your next vehicle with a loan made just for you. TCs and lending criteria apply.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Hi, my name's Matt and I'm the Dines Group CEO. Dines is a company that's focused on selling logistics solutions to its customers. We're passionate about selling efficiency and we've been selling efficiency for over 50 years now.
Just plan your route a little bit, choose nice and quiet roads. In the winter it's always nice to ride north and south. That way you get the driest route and less likely to hit black ice. Hey, what have you got? Okay.
Chicks World, party time, excellent.
Love it! Chicks World! Chicks World! Right.
Hoki mai anō. Christchurch inventor Glenn Martin's unique Martin jetpack opened up possibilities for a futuristic single-person aircraft. But after burning through more than $50 million, the funding dried up. Now the company's assets are being auctioned off, with aviologists queuing to buy a piece of Kiwi aviation history.
Been offered so much, but 30 years on it's all going under the auctioneer's hammer. The Martin Aviation Company of Christchurch almost made it, but when the funding dried up, the receivers consigned everything to a warehouse in Woolston.
They got very close, so they got to the stage where obviously they were flying, they were close to the sort of the production model, which is over here, and they just never quite got there. So when they ran out of funds, obviously a liquidator took over and the assets need to be sold.
Brown says he's been amazed at the interest from those after a piece of Kiwi aviation history.
Huge. We've never had seen anything quite like it.
He says the interest is coming from aviation enthusiasts far and wide.
So a lot of it from sort of aviation interest collectors, museums. So MOTAT have actually bought one, so that'll be going in their aviation hall sometime in the not too distant future.
But for budding pilots planning on using the prototype jetpacks, the options are limited.
Well, so you can't really do anything with them anymore. So there's about 15 we know of which we've recovered about 8 so far. The older prototypes are mainly just display pieces now. They're kind of that piece of Kiwi history. The newer jetpacks are all going to one buyer who has bought the whole technology, and hopefully they'll continue developing that into the future.
The next chance to see Kiwi aviation like this may be in a museum. Only the future will show us what became of Glenn Martin's bright idea for personal flight. In Christchurch for the South Today.
Christmas isn't quite cancelled this year, but the festivities are being restrained in many areas. Around the country, many groups are being forced to cancel their festive events due to COVID restrictions. But one Christchurch charity organisation is intent on spreading some Christmas cheer.
One of Christchurch's familiar seasonal landmarks has reappeared. While many of the city's planned events have been cancelled this festive season, the Christchurch City Mission is still hoping to bring the spirit of Christmas to the city centre.
So just behind us we've got our City Mission Christmas tree, and this is our second year in doing it, last year obviously being our inaugural launch of it.
Thanks to some extra lights and stars, the 11-metre tall Christmas tree is looking much brighter than it did last year. Located in front of the Bridge of Remembrance on Cashel Street, the tree has a fresh new look. It incorporates a dazzling new custom-made computer-controlled light display that will be at least 3 times brighter than it was last year. However, despite the spreading of Christmas cheer, one key part of the City Mission's traditional celebrations will sadly be missing this year.
Look, unfortunately we've had to put our Christmas dinner off for the first time in memory, and that's really hard. You know, our Christmas dinner is something that is really important to who we are as a mission. It's about coming together and about celebrating and about remembering. And so for us to not be able to do that has been a really hard decision.
City missionary Matthew Mark says the giant tree is a thank you from the mission to the city. It's for the support they get from the community over the year. Its rising helix represents the lives of the many thousands of people it helps annually. In Christchurch for the South Today.
And now recapping tonight's top stories on the South Today. There's been sky-high interest in a special quarantine-free charter flight across the Tasman, with the second flight for South Islanders now confirmed. Aviologists queue up for a slice of Kiwi aviation history as assets from the company behind the famous Martin jetpack are auctioned off. And take it over or rip it up. The City Council hears opposing plans around the future of the Tidy Gorge railway line. And now for a look at what's happening in tomorrow's ODT, we welcome Deputy Editor Craig Page. Kia ora, Craig.
Good evening. Questions being asked about the new vaccine pass and how accessible it is for the elderly in particular, particularly if you haven't got a smartphone or computer access. We all know that with when you try to get somebody on the phone these days for any of these organisations, you tend to be on hold for quite some time, so there's a lot of frustration around that as well at the moment with lines to the ministry jammed. So we've talked to Grey Power about how difficult it is and what they can hopefully do down the track to sort this out. There is talk that they're going to open up some face-to-face options for people shortly, maybe able to do that through the pharmacies. Of course, December 3 is going to be the big date when the traffic light system kicks in, so we'll all need our passes to go anywhere. So it is, it's pretty, and we're going to need them for the foreseeable future, so hopefully they can get that sorted out and keep some of these people on side. Fresh Christmas magazine's out tomorrow. I know you were waiting. I mentioned it last week and you were very excited then, so you'll be even more excited tonight. Lifestyle editor Rebecca Fox has spent almost 12 months putting it together since the last one. So lots of ideas for Christmas food, the cooked ham through to some delicious desserts as well. A bit of trifle there as well, which is one of my favourites. And more importantly, we've got some tips on finding the perfect wine for Christmas Day as well. We've tied in this year with our gift buying guide as well, so that comes out. If you're struggling for options for that loved one in your life.
A few ideas might be welcome.
A few ideas could be there. So well worth getting tomorrow's paper for that alone. And on the sporting front, we take a closer look at the Super Rugby squads. Otago, they didn't win the NPC, they ended up with 16 players receiving Super Rugby contracts, which is the most since 2007. 13 with the Highlanders and 3 going elsewhere. The most notable, of course, is Josh Ioane, who's off to the Chiefs. And the way he's been playing for Otago this season, he will be sorely missed, I would suspect. So we've spoken to Richard Kinley, the Otago boss, and he's pretty excited. I think there's some good things going on in Otago Rugby, and I guess the fact we can get so many in shows that is the case. And we also take a quick look back at the All Blacks season. We'd look at some of the big games and perhaps the not so good games. They're not too hard to look to find those games. So plenty of questions to be asked about the All Blacks, and it's going to be a long summer for their coaching staff, I suspect. So that's us.
Thanks very much, Craig.
Thank you.
And time now for a look at the weather.
Tonight's weather proudly brought to you by Mole Map.
Beginning with the southern view, storm clouds over central Dunedin this morning. Looking at the situation though, it's very fine for the near future. You've got to enjoy it though. Rain is on the way again, and through the weekend with heavy rain possible. So the northwest sees just spots of cloud tomorrow, both towns on 18 degrees. It's very consistent up north, Nelson and Blenheim both with partial cloud on 18 as well. And fairly fine down the Canterbury coast, Kaikoura reaches a sunny 16. That's only partially covered in Christchurch and Ashburton on 17 and 20. But fine everywhere else. A few light winds down south hovering between 18 and 19 degrees. That's fine in central too. Te Anau reaches 18, it's 21 or 22 in the other centres. Fine further north as well with light easterlies, slightly cooler on the coast on 19 degrees. Inland it's 22 or 23. In Dunedin, more of the same, generally fine through Friday. Just some spots of cloud carried by light easterlies. 6 tonight, then 18 and 9 Wednesday and Thursday. And we can't leave out Invercargill, can we? You're fine too. Some moderate westerlies over the next few days. 5 tonight, 18 and 6 tomorrow, and 19 and 10 on Thursday. And that's the news this Tuesday. For the latest news and videos from the southern region, head online to odt.co.nz, and you can follow Channel 39 on YouTube to catch our news bulletins on demand. Nō reira, kia pai te pō, ka kite anō.
This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.